Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started now. So I'm Eric Russell. I'm the Director of Educational Initiatives at the Computing Research Association. I'm joined here by my colleagues, and we're very excited to share information about the NSF CSGrad4US Fellowship and Mentoring Program. So for today's agenda, we're going to talk obviously about the fellowship program. We'll have Dr. Jill Denner from NSF here to talk about the program from NSF's perspective, and then we'll be getting into some of the motivations and process opportunities that getting a PhD can provide, and then also some more information about the fellowship itself, as well as the mentoring program component of it, the timeline, what the fellowship support looks like, and some eligibility things, and then obviously the application as well, because the application period is currently open. And so with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Jill to start us off.
Thank you, Eric. It's a pleasure to be here today. Jill Denner. I am a program director at the National Science Foundation in the SCIES Directorate, Computer Information Science and Engineering. And I'm just here to welcome you and tell you a little bit about the CSGrad4US Fellowship Program. So next slide, please. Thank you. So the National Science Foundation started the CSGrad4US Fellowship Program with the goal of increasing the number of domestic graduate students from a range of backgrounds who pursue a research career in a SCIES field. And by SCIES, we mean computer science, computer engineering, and information science. A unique part of this program is that it focuses on people who have a college degree but have been working for some time and are interested in returning to school to get a PhD in a SCIES field. The CSGrad4US program started in 2021, so there have been 3 application cycles. We are in our 4th right now. People were selected, and then they participate in a mentoring program to help them identify PhD programs and apply to them. So our 3rd cohort of fellows is in the mentoring program right now. The next slide is a map that shows that CSGrad4US fellows have enrolled in PhD programs at a range of universities across the country. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Russ, who's going to talk a bit about getting a PhD. Thanks for being here.
Hi, sorry about that. Thanks, Jill. My name is Russ Joseph. I'm a faculty member at Northwestern University, and I'm a co-leader of the program. And I'm going to talk to you about why you might want to get a PhD and what the process looks like. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are many reasons why you might want to pursue a PhD. The reasons are often very personal. So you might want to have your work to have greater impact on society. And so that you really care about impact. You might have worked with people who have a PhD, and that has somehow inspired you to get your own. Or maybe you think that being a researcher sounds exciting, and it often is. Next slide, please. So if you want to get a PhD, you're going to first have to apply to a PhD program. And that is a significant process. All right. So if you wanted to apply to a PhD program, the first thing you really need to do is know what research is. And you can think about research as being the systematic investigation of some topic to generate new knowledge. And then you're going to need to have an idea of what research areas you are interested in. And it's important to note that you don't need to have prior research experience. You just need to know what sort of research topics you're interested in. You do need to have a technical background in the areas that are important for the research that you want to do. And depending on what your PhD program is, and specifically what you want to do during your research, the expectations on your background can vary a great deal. Next. Next slide, please. All right. So as Jill mentioned, this program is sponsored by the National Science Foundation's Directorate on SISE. So that's Computer Information Science, Computer Information Sciences and Engineering. And all the successful applicants to this program are going to have a suitable SISE background. And that can mean many things. So a undergraduate degree in computer science, computer information sciences, or computer engineering, or a master's degree in any of those would count. Possibly a minor in any of those degrees, or some interdisciplinary undergraduate degree in CS plus some additional discipline. Or if you don't have a degree formally in computer science or related fields, you might have equivalent work experience, which qualifies you. Applicants to programs in iSchools might have different requirements and different sort of expectations on the background. They typically do very interdisciplinary work. And so what's necessary to be successful in those programs might differ from what you would expect to see in a traditional CS program. So there's a link here, and we'll have some more information for you if you click on that to provide more guidance on the details on SISE competency. Next slide, please. So as you can see, research areas for people that work in SISE vary greatly, right? So there's a whole broad range of things that people do, right? Things that you may have studied in undergrad, like theory and algorithms. There's machine learning, natural language processing, robotics, security. It's really, really a broad range of topics that people study. Next slide, please. Okay, so what does a PhD allow you to do? What can I do once I receive a PhD? And there's some common paths. So the first one is probably most obvious to most folks, and that is with a PhD, you can go into doing academic research and teaching and being like the professors that you studied from when you were in your undergrad program. So you could be a tenure track faculty member at a university or college, or you could be a teaching or research faculty at a research institution. Or you could go on and do non-academic research, and you could be a scientist in a research lab in either industry, government, or a national lab. Or you could work in a more applied research position. That's where your research is being sort of translated very directly into a product. Or you can take another path, research-driven leadership. And there you might be an entrepreneur, right? You might have your own startup. You might do consulting work. You might take some technical leadership, possibly in government. So it's important to note that of recent SISE PhDs, about 60% of them do not pursue an academic career. So again, becoming a faculty member at a university is one option, but it's not the only option. Next slide, please. Okay. So how do you apply for a PhD? How do you apply to a graduate program? And it's not a sort of standard, typical process that you would expect when applying for lots of other jobs or lots of other positions. Right? You're going to have lots of things involved. You're going to write a personal statement. You're going to submit transcripts, your academic record. You're going to need to supply letters of recommendation, and you might have to study for and take the GRE and present those test scores. But any way you slice it, it's deceptively simple. It's really non-trivial to put all these things together, because you really have to tell a story that is cohesive and really makes the argument that you are going to be able to do good research. All right, next slide, please. So Is returning from the workforce to pursue a PhD common? Well, next slide. As you might have guessed, the most common path to a PhD is going directly from an undergraduate degree into a PhD program. But it is important to note this is not the only option. This program, CSGrad4US, provides a unique opportunity for folks to enter the PhD program from the workplace, right? So everyone presenting tonight, along with funding agencies, software companies, and research labs, right, believe that there are many individuals who have gone directly from their undergrad degree to the workforce, but those individuals may have potential to do research as well. And this program is geared at providing that opportunity for folks who have taken that path and gone directly from their undergrad to the workforce, providing a way for them to pursue their PhDs. Next slide, please. So this demographic, this graph shows just what I was talking about. This is our cohort 3 of this program, and we're showing their years of completion for the first BS degree. So if you look on the far right, you could see, unsurprisingly, that most of the people in the program got their BS degrees relatively recently, right, in the past 2 or 3 years. But if you look at the tail, right, it goes way out. And so some of these folks got their bachelor's degrees 20 years ago, right? So that shows a really broad range of experience and backgrounds. Next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Susanna Hambrusch, and she's going to talk to you about the fellowship and mentoring program.
So we're going to pause just a little bit because I think we do want to know who you are and what brought you here and what your goals are. And Eric Russell's going to run a poll if I'm correctly informed. Yes. Okay, everybody filled it out.
We're at 90%. We're right there.
Oh. Yeah, it helps us to know, especially how you hear about things. We really don't know how people find out, and it's always surprising. So that's why we ask you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and end the poll. Thank you,
Okay.
Susanna.
Sure. So I'm Susanna Hambrusch. I'm in the faculty in the computer science department at Purdue, and I've been with this programs actually before it started. So it's been a wonderful experience. And I guess 5 years ago, I probably didn't think that this would ever take off and we would see the 4th cohort being recruited. So next slide. I want to stress what Russ said, that the application with these just 4 parts looks simple, but it is very complicated to come up with the correct story. And especially for people that lost touch with academia, don't talk to faculty and take courses anymore, the more distance there is, the harder it is actually to do that. And just making the fellowship available that pays the tuition and a stipend isn't enough for this group of people that are really, there are a lot of talented people among you. And the program then developed, in addition to the fellowship, a mentoring program that starts the year before. And it has a number of components. It has group mentoring sessions. We'll talk a little bit about them. And then every fellow is matched with a coach. And that one coach, these are faculty, research active faculty in PhD granting institution they are assigned usually 3 mentees, and they work with them on all the aspects of the application process. And generally, from what we have seen, most of them stay in touch with the mentees and really help them along through the PhD program. So that's one part. The second part, of course, is then the fellowship that what one receives, and the purpose is to be, the requirement is to be a full-time student in a sized PhD program, and the fellowship pays 3 years of financial support, and pretty much almost every institution I know will then support a student beyond that, either as a TA or as an RA, as a research assistant working with the advisor, or make other fellowships available. Next slide. A little bit more about the mentoring program. There is the aspects are that it includes is to just understand what to prepare on the material, and how it is written. The application asks you to write some material, but that is many times off from what a PhD program expects to see in an application. It helps to identify the research areas. That is, to a large extent, the coaches work with the individual. About half the people we see in the program know what they want. They know what they want, and they don't change their mind. About the other half doesn't know, and some change quite a bit. And so this is really, it's very unpredictable, because the coach will work with the fellows to actually research, to read papers, to explore things, and that can change people's mind. Identifying letter writers that have to address your ability to be successful as a researcher is a little tricky once people don't know you anymore. So you go back to the instructors you had, you go back to people you work with, especially if they have a PhD, and your coach will help you write letters. And we in the mentoring program, we also discuss how to write the letters, and how to help people that knew you to remember all the good things you know. And then there are a lot of schools, and a lot of schools that everybody knows, and then there are a lot of really good schools only a few people know, and trying to find the right match where you find the program that fits your background and your interests is not always so easy. And now, about this time of the year, the acceptances for grad schools are coming out, and so we will have later this week a meeting with the mentees from the 3rd cohort, and we'll discuss, now you have acceptances, how do you decide, what do you do now, and what are the next steps. So this is sort of what the PhD application process contains, and we guide you through it. And so the mentoring sessions address general things, and the individual coaching helps you really personalize to provide what you need. Then through the first year in grad school, we provide some help. We try to connect the fellows, and we have opportunities to meet you. And then throughout your PhD, there are evaluations done to sort of see how you progress, how what the obstacles are, what the successes are, and so we understand better how to help the next cohort. So next slide. So in more detail, there are these 6 90-minute sessions that we record, and of course, with people from the workforce, it's really hard to get everybody to make time to come. We operate on the East Coast time, and so that's always a challenge, that we don't have a perfect solution. We have panels. 2 of the panels are the panelists are previous applicants that are now in graduate school, and this is they give various perspectives from different parts for their experience. Then there is 12 weeks of coaching in the fall. Sometimes the research areas don't match the expertise of the coaching, so then we pull in research area advisors that will have a few calls and virtual meetings with the mentees. We have office hours every week, and there is a very lively interaction of the fellows from previous cohorts that give advice and help each other. And so the communications through all these things from office hours, the previous fellows, and a Discord server to support community building, that all has over the years actually become quite active and I think very valuable to everyone. The next slide. The timeline, so this would be if you were to apply, Ross has talked about what the prerequisites are, and depending on which program you go into, high school is an information school, or into a core CS program, or in a interdisciplinary program, the backgrounds vary quite a bit. You apply now. There's a selection that happens then in the early summer, and in the early fall, the mentoring program starts, where we go through all these steps. And then in the late fall, this goes very fast. You actually will pull everything together, ask your letter writers, have your personal statement, your resume, your transcripts. The hardest part of all this is writing your personal statements to reflect who you are, what you're interested in, what your strength is. And a lot of the strengths when you've been in the workforce for 5 years comes from being in the workforce, and many valuable things in research are developed there. You finalize the application, you ask feedback on especially the personal statement, you submit, and then you sit back and relax, and you relax until about middle of February, when you really will get nervous again. And so about now, you hear from schools. Most schools will invite the admitted students to come back for a visiting day. Some schools also invite non-admitted students to come to a visiting day. That happens usually in the first half of March. And then by April 15, you make a decision. And you really can only accept one school. It wouldn't be the right to do more. So, and the program actually allows you to go through the cycle twice. So some people go through it the first time, then realize I really didn't get my interests right, and my experience on going through this now helped me to figure out what I want. And this program allows you to apply a second time, and I think that's very, very valuable. So next slide. Just to iterate that, you can, if you want to go into a medical informatics program, you probably are not, the fellowship is not going to work. If you want to do a PhD in mechanical engineering, it's also not going to work. So you have to be in a SCIENCE program, which are these 4 fields that are listed. The 3 fields that are listed here. Any department of computer science, information science, computer engineering will have this right program. And some of the departments in these fields are organized in schools or colleges, and those would also be appropriate. Some interdisciplinary programs are. And there are a few programs that are not on this list that actually are also eligible. For example, some robotics programs that are really size-like are in maybe in a separate unit. And every PhD program has a code, and this code has to be of a certain type to be eligible. If you are going to be in this mentoring program, we will talk about this, and it's not magic, and in the end, we always find a program that works for applicants, even if the interests are a little broader than what we first expected. The next slide. Okay, so I hand it off to Eric, who talks about some of the nuts and bolts.
Thank you, Susanna. Yes, so I'll talk a little bit more about the actual support and the applications as well. Next slide. So fellowship support. So this really consists of 3 years worth of financial support during a 5-year fellowship period. And so the annual stipend is the main bulk of that, and that is $37,000 currently, $37,000 per year. And then there's also an annual cost of education allowance of 16,000 per year currently. So currently 53,000 a year for 3 years is 159,000. The and you know, once a student is accepted and into and enrolled in the a PhD program, an eligible PhD program at an institution, we'll go ahead, we being CRA, will uh, work with the institution to establish a subaward that covers your fellowship. And so that's how that's handled. And then the other type of support, obviously, that we've been talking a lot about is the mentoring program. You can't stress enough how much the coaches, these are, you know, faculty that are volunteering their time to really make a difference in the community. And it's one of the beautiful things about this program, and they bring their wealth of knowledge to really help tailor the experience for each individual participant. And so it is really a valuable and wonderful thing. So next slide, please. So a question we get often is you know, asking about eligibility, right? And so these are the eligibility requirements. I guess I could read them to you. So you need to be a U.S. citizen, national, or permanent resident. You must have graduated with a bachelor's degree before January 1st, 2024. And the term, let me point out the term national in that first bullet, it designates a native resident of a commonwealth or territory of the United States, such as America and Samoa. It does not refer to a citizen of another country who has applied for United States citizenship and who has not received U.S. citizenship by the application deadline. And so that is one thing that we would like to clarify. Another item is, you know, they must have demonstrated size core competency, as discussed earlier, have not been enrolled in any degree granting program after January 1st of 2024. So let's say somebody's in a master's program currently and finishing in May, they want to apply. Well, they just wouldn't be eligible this year, but they would, you know, assuming that they're not enrolled in another program next year, they would be eligible to apply next year. So another one is have never enrolled in and have no pending application or offer of admission for a doctoral degree granting program in a size discipline. And so there's that. And then clearly they need to be prepared to attend graduate school enrolling in a research-based doctoral degree program in a size discipline no later than fall 2026. We do encourage all the mentoring program participants to plan on applying the first year of the fellowship, or the first year that they participate in the mentoring program. And so those are the eligibility questions. Okay, next slide. And the big question, applications. So the application period has now opened and will be open until May 31st of 2024. The URL is here. It's also, I think, been put in the Q&A. So if you are looking for it, you can find it there as well. And so we encourage you to not wait till the last minute. There's quite a few components to it. And so we encourage you to really start early and prepare for it and get your applications in early rather than waiting till May 31st to try and get it all done. Okay, next slide. Okay, questions. And you can move to the next slide also, Kaylee. Thank you. Okay, so I see one question. Oh, Kelly's already answering. Well, I guess we can take some of these live. So we'll have enough time to do a job while participating in the fellowship. This is a question we get quite often, right? And so The fellowship is getting a PhD is a full-time job, right? They need to be enrolled full-time. And the definition of who is enrolled full-time, it varies by institution. But just know that pursuing a PhD is a full-time process. So it's not possible to keep a full-time job and do the fellowship concurrently. Um, okay, I see another question. And any of the panelists, if you want to take these, how is the grant program application scored? So I could talk a little bit about the process. So the process, applications will be obviously collected, and then review panels will be pulled together. These are folks from industry, academia, and they are serving to review. They'll conduct reviews of the applications. Um, Jill, do you have any like specific information about like how they're scored? Um,
Well, I think you look at look at the application materials and look for what is being, what people are applying for, right? And so we're looking for people who are committed and interested in pursuing a science research degree, have some idea of why they're doing that, have a statement about how they might use their degree to make a difference in the world. So if you look at that ETAP link that I think they posted, you'll see the components. There's a couple of personal statements. And so we really look at people who are interested and committed and will make a contribution to the field.
Great. Thank you, Jill.
So how many awards per year are made? How do I guess, Eric, do you know how many were made last year?
Well, we have the funding up to make award up to 70 this year.
Okay.
Oh, I believe that's what they're asking there.
Yeah, so that's a maximum number. And then I think we always, every year we see some individuals that go through the mentoring program and then decide, I don't think that's for me. And that's okay, because they're figuring out something about themselves. But the vast majority, we really, once they start looking and the application process happens, I think the vast majority, 90%, then really apply the first year, and very few reapply and realize they want to do something, they want to get admitted somewhere else. So I do think I think it's successful, and there are many of the fellows that are in PhD programs now in the second year have made some very nice progress. So it's really delightful to see the individuals coming from industry, probably not knowing much about research, and then turning into researchers. I think that's what we like, and that's why we work in this program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good question. So another question that came in is they're seeking better understanding about the stipend. Do you get it once you've been accepted in a PhD program, or during the first year during the mentoring part? Good question. So the way it works is the stipends are dispersed by the institution, right? So basically, here's the process. Someone applies, right? There's the review. If they're selected, they then participate in the fall in the mentoring program. At the tail end of the mentoring program, at the end of fall, they're submitting their applications to PhD size PhD programs. And then in the spring of the following year, they're receiving their acceptances, admittances, and then making decisions. They'll then communicate, okay, I'm going to X institution starting in fall of whatever, the next year. So fall of 25, right? In this case. And so we, CRA, will then work with that institution, institution X, and we will establish a subaward. The institution, once you're enrolled in the full-time PhD program, not the mentoring program, but the PhD program at that institution, the institution will begin issuing the annual stipend. They pay it out in it's basically on a monthly basis, um, and um, and that's how that is taken care of. And we will establish that sub award, and then they'll just invoice us for the expenses that they've incurred for that. But that's the process. So I hope that answers your question.
So let me add to that, that whenever you're a graduate student, doesn't matter in what program, your half of your time is meant towards being a student taking courses, doing research, and the other half you get a stipend for either doing the research, to do more research, or to be a teaching assistant, or to have some other a position that could be research related. So you are that the stipend is really for half-time employment, but the other half is being a student. And that's that is always a confusing concept for people in the workforce who've never really seen this. But if you were an undergrad and you had a TA who helped you in a course, that's exactly how they were paid as well. So there's a question on examples of successful applications. So we have on the CRA site, we have the slides of the mentoring programs from the first 5 sessions from last year. And they are just the slides without the words and the recording. But in those slides, if you read through them, it really talks about what makes an application successful and what are reviewers looking for and what should you really highlight. And I think you can find a lot of information in there. If you search for successful applications and essays for PhD programs in computer science or computer engineering, you'll find tons of essays, you'll find tons of examples, and you're probably going to drown in it all and it's going to scare you. So there is a lot out there, and when you're in this program, we will point to some things we find are constructive and apply to you, but there's also other stuff out there that is not really relevant for applicants to this program. I don't know, does Russ or Kelly, do you want to answer, add to that? No, you're okay? Okay.
No, nothing else.
Okay. How competitive is it to get accepted? I think we're really looking for the applicant who the reviewers and all the people involved in the program believe will be successful. So that is really hard to judge, but that's in some sense what we're looking for. And successful, not immediately producing research results, but also with the right guidance, with mentoring in the first year, that there is the potential to succeed. And that's I think we've done in these 3 cohorts a pretty good job that the people we believed in, where this would really work out, that they did indeed receive a fellowship. That can change very quickly, because the more people know about this program, the more application one gets, that aren't thought through. But we've had very thoughtful applications in the first 3 cohorts. So we don't really have we don't have percentages or any of those things, right? Yeah. Oh, Who wants to take that question? 100% online PhD program. They don't really exist. There are some for profits, but to be a researcher, you have to be working in a group, and it is really difficult to do in an online fashion. The pandemic for the PhD students has really been very, very difficult. The isolation, I mean, research, you engage with people, you learn from mentors, you learn from peers. That can, and even I mean, all the universities went back to in-class course offerings, and students did not do well in the online version. So it is you have to expect that your PhD program is an in-person program. And you can go to any university that is PhD granting in the United States. You can't go to Canada, you can't go to Europe. So can you apply for a master's program? No, you cannot apply. This is for a PhD program. You have to be admitted to into a PhD program.
No, I think the question is, can I apply to this program if I have a
Oh, if
master's?
I have a master's, sorry.
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
But you cannot apply to get a master's. That doesn't work.
There's another question up there. Is it for a specific university or can it be any? I'm looking somewhere. Okay. Yeah, during the mentoring program, you will actually like explore and develop a list of programs that you'd like to apply to. So it is yeah, no one's going to force you to go anywhere. So it is definitely your choice in where you end up applying. So yeah.
So I want to add that we see, of course, when students finish a bachelor and they're wanting to go to grad school, they will look all over. They many times have no geographic constraints, only preferences. And we, of course, see a lot of people that have families, that have ties that are very limited in saying, I can only be 60 miles from this location or so. And we really encourage everybody to think broader and to get the experience of applying and looking what's out there. And sometimes they actually start realizing, oh no, I think it's worth moving. And sometimes they will really find something close to where they want to stay. And it makes the search for the right program a little bit harder, but we've had coaches who have been extremely creative and have helped mentees to find really programs close to that area. So I think yes, if you got geographical constraints, we are used to.
I just want to add to that. I was on so as you mentioned, we have weekly office hours. So I was on an office hours call, maybe it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. And we were, or no, sorry, this was a check-in we had with fellows they're currently in PhD programs right now. And many of them, so everyone was doing great, and this is their first year in their PhD program, and they, several of them had traveled a lot further than they thought that was possible for them to deal with when they started this process. I think the winner had traveled maybe about 800 miles. We had a competition who's the furthest from where they live. We had someone move 800 miles. So that's pretty, that's pretty far. And overall, they're very happy that they did it. They weren't, it was not something they were expecting to be able to do, but it worked out for them, and it won't work out for everyone, but try to be open to it.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've answered all the questions so far, and we seem to be at time now. So I think, oh, there's one more that popped in. It says computer science, computer engineering, and computer information science.
Software engineering count? Yes, software engineering counts usually under computer science. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, with that, I think we'll go ahead and bring it to a close. We'd like to thank everyone for your time and interest in the CS Grad4US Fellowship. And we hope to, see your applications coming through. And if this isn't the time, you know, if it isn't the right time for you to apply, perhaps you can always share this information with your networks. Perhaps you know of someone else that may be able to take advantage of it at this time. It really is a wonderful program, and we hope you'll help spread the word. Okay, thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you.